find yourself to fit in. You get a big reaction.
Good evening and welcome to the All With Smiling Faces podcast. Tonight we have some breaking news for you all.
Oh.
Newcastle United have actually won a football game.
Yes! Hooray!
Best in the world.
Oh, my life.
Cheers.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Oh, unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
What a shame Chris wasn't there to share it with us, and he's not here tonight to share it with us again.
Yeah, so I think we've found the trend, haven't we?
That's it.
We've found the trend. That's it. He's
Chris
done.
Out. Sorry, Chris. It was fun while it lasted, but
I thought Ashley was bad until you came around, and it's been dog days since you've been here.
We're gonna get trending on Twitter. Hashtag Chris Out.
Aye.
Not allowed back in the ground. So.
But we hope you're having a lovely holiday, though. Not really. Hope it's raining, you bastard.
No, I'd rather be.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
God, Saturday, man.
Oh, mate, unbelievable, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Has it actually sunk in yet?
Well, I woke up on Sunday. I was actually smiling as soon as I woke up. I just had that, you have that feeling of like, God, we've actually won. Like,
woke up and it was
unreal, man.
Your mind wandered back a few hours to the day before.
I'm honestly right. I was in the ground, right, and I was doom and gloom when I was on the way in. Honestly, I was like,
that's unlike you, mind.
I was. I had a pint, right, and then I went to the toilet and I could hear Mark and Deka, Why I Man, which was the intro to, I think I've used it whenever you done it. I came back, checked the team news. I seen Rondon was on and Perez was off. Had another pint.
Well, I tell you
that was it. I was like, we're winning. Like, everything's coming together here.
Well, when the team news broke, well, you can imagine me. Top off the lot, swinging it around. Oh, I couldn't believe Perez.
Were you in the pub when you heard the team news?
Yeah.
What was the reaction of people, or was it not? Like
So in general there was a buzz around the fact that he's. I think it was more shock that he'd been dropped than anything.
Everyone around where I was sitting thought this, like, he's actually dropped him.
And I mean, let's face it, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, we've said it. It's funny though, isn't it? Like, we've said this for weeks that he should be dropped. He is dropped. I know we'll come on to it later in terms of his celebration, but we're saying I'm not listening to anybody. Well, listen to your manager, and he dropped you. Like, we didn't drop you. Yeah. Your manager did it because your performances haven't been good enough.
Well, there's been a bit of debate on that with the celebrations, because I mean, I don't know what you thought, but obviously at the time of him coming on, it was after the game, really, like reading through Twitter that I heard. I didn't hear it. I've seen a lot of comments about him being booed on and stuff like that. And
I'll be honest, I didn't hear any. Me personally, I didn't. And I know someone had says, well, no, there definitely was booing, and someone was getting quite aggressive on Twitter. But surprise. Well, but I didn't hear anything.
It seemed to be, from what people are saying, it seemed to be more towards like the Leazer's end and like level 7 and stuff like that. And I'm not like, I probably maybe heard like one or two mute boos, but that was like just an isolated thing rather than a big, the whole crowd getting on his back and stuff like that.
If you look at past weeks when Richie's come off instead of Perez,
them
are boos. Them are boos. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Whereas that was nothing like that at all. I didn't think. Like, but in terms of the lineup, what was your thoughts on it? Were you happy with what you seen?
Yeah. So I mean, when we've been crying out for Muto and Rondon up front together. That's what we talked about last week when we were discussing the possible formation and stuff like that. So ultimately he gave what we were looking for. And looking at that starting team, I think at the start of the game you probably would have said that's our strongest 11 and what you would want to see.
Didn't end that way, did it? But I know what you're saying. No, I agree.
And then,
I agree totally.
As the game went on and developed, then
honestly,
I don't know, it kind of turned itself on its head, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I was really pleased with the team. Like, I think everybody was. I mean, there was a lot of comments on Twitter saying that was our strongest 11, strongest.
Well, it was the same back five that we've expected. What you would look at and pick, wasn't it? So you had obviously the keeper's going to be there every game. Yep. Yedlin, Lascelles, Fernandez, and Dummett. You look at that and you say that picks itself on paper. Yep. Everybody would have been, more than happy with that. Then into midfield again, you had Richie, Shelvey, Diarmi, and Kennedy. Again, probably looking at that, that's what you would have picked.
Well, I thought Kennedy played well.
Again, there's been
Yeah, I've
a
heard
difference of
murmurs,
opinions on Kennedy as well. I think.
I thought he looked more confident than a few weeks. I'm not saying he didn't actually technically do anything. I mean, I'll be honest, he didn't create any. Like, he didn't.
Well, that's what he's came in for a lot of criticism for. Is he's.
But he has it though, doesn't he?
That final bit of something.
Yeah.
But from an effort point of view and working his socks off and stuff like that, he never stopped.
There's a few points. Like for me, there was last week we were talking about where Watford hurt with the last time was the left hand side. They were doing it again, like massively again. I don't know how we haven't learned from the last time we played them, but they were apart at times. I felt on that side of the field. Well, on Yedlin and Rich's side.
Well, I mean, me and Adam were having a conversation about that, and everybody around where we were sitting were like, when you are looking at Richie, he kept, again, as we've talked about a lot, he kept drifting into the middle of the park. But the worrying thing was, as soon as the ball went in the middle of the park, got over on our left, Yedlin started following him as well.
I know.
Yedlin was at times playing as a centre half, which was leaving a massive gap. And yes, he was always quick to get back out into that wide position, but they basically left their left winger just stayed out there on the touchline, because he knew as soon as that ball breaks and comes out there, he's got an acre of space in front of him. Do you think
two things? I think with Yedlin, do you think either Rafa's telling him this, or he thinks that's fly again back?
I know, it's back.
Fuck's sake.
Must live here.
It must live on.
Unless you bring it back with you.
Yeah, maybe me. Do you think that one, he thinks because obviously say the players on that side of the field, the gap between the right back and the centre half would be so big, there's a chance for a ball in that sort of little space. And secondly, he might think, if I do close that gap, I'm fast enough to be able to make it out there anyway. Because I personally still believe he comes far too close to the centre half.
Well, I think the thing is the player's a unit.
Aye.
So as soon as the left dummit goes out over to the touchline, that automatically means Fernandez has to move across. Then Lascelles has to move into the middle, which then leaves a gap. So Yedlin's going to come in, which is fine, providing you've then got somebody to cover that man that's outside of him. And that's what Richie should be doing. He should be saying, well, hold on, I can't just leave him out there by himself and wander off into the middle of the park. I need to be aware of what's going on behind us and to the side, and just drop out there and just, play that a bit more defensively when we're under the cosh.
It's funny how on the other side of the field, we're never in trouble. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Dummett and that is so much more. I don't know if it's totally away. I don't know what it is, but I never ever feel as if we'll get as done on that side of the field than we do on that one. I think
Dummett obviously concentrates more on the defending side of the game, doesn't he? So,
as we've said,
but I don't know whether it's because the opposition's teams maybe look at our left back slot as a bit of a weak link, and maybe because a lot of the play was going down that side, which was meaning everybody was coming across. So perhaps target, because we have seen it before in the past, the team targeting Dummett.
I literally felt for a long period, especially the first half, it was just a constant stream of hassle down that side of the field. But
which I think down our right.
So so their left side, meaning our right. So
and I think, as I say, I think that's just because of the gaps, and it wasn't that. It was that coming inside that was leaving the space for them to exploit. And let's face it, they had umpteen chances, and that game, although we won it, could have turned out very, very different from the amount of chance. I mean, they had it, I think, 3 in the first half where literally they're standing in front of goal and somehow managed to hit them wide and stuff like that.
I think we had a corner, or a free kick, dangerous one as well. Then broke from that and were like 3-on-2 immediately,
break,
and then Delafeu put it right. Dubravka did very well actually, because he came out quick and narrow the angle. But
that was the one where he came down there right, and then just
that's right. Yeah,
it was a weird decision from him, because he neither shot or crossed the ball kind of thing. He just almost just played it straight out. It was weird. Play, wasn't it?
It was weird. I didn't feel that we created. Well, I'll get on to it probably now why I think we didn't, but we didn't really create much. But I didn't think we were. For all them had a lot of chances, I still felt we were in the game. What I did feel at the time didn't come out to be true though, was no matter who scored first, it didn't matter. I just felt there was goals in the game. Like, it felt as if we could have scored, them could have scored. I thought there was going to be loads of goals.
Well, it was a proper backwards.
It was, wasn't it?
Game, wasn't it?
It felt like the last 20 minutes of the game rather than like the first half. It was just so open, which is not normally like us.
Well, I think it's because we started very, very quickly, and I think from the start we were, quite on top and being forceful with how we're playing. And where it then that they would come into the game was when, like you're saying, hit us on the break.
Yeah, they did.
Because they had a lot of pace.
Yeah.
And the lad that they had playing number 16 in the middle of the park as well, he was backwards and forwards, box to box to box. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
But they didn't really seem to put any real quality together. It was more like kind of a bit of potluck of just hitting on the break and getting forward that way. Like there was only a couple of times where they actually played the ball around and stuff like that and made nice moves where I think we were trying to do that a lot.
Well, what I thought was funny, I mean, I don't know if it was where you were sitting, where I was sitting. You see, when Watford had the ball at the back, they were passing it round, in quite good sort of.
There wasn't any urgency to get forward. When they had the ball.
We had the ball. When we got the ball and did the same, our fans, certainly where I was sitting, weren't happy that we were trying to build it up, if you like. Do you know what I mean? They were like, we've got to get it forward almost straight away. Now, when half time, obviously the Lascelles injury, which. From what I remember, he tackled it, went out for a corner, and you could see he got up and he was holding his arm.
What happened, because we were banging line with it, the ball came in and he went up for a header with their forward, and he came down and landed on top of the striker, which he seemed to either because when you look at it, we couldn't decide whether it was it his elbow, was it his shoulder, was it his collarbone, because he seemed to just be almost holding his arm into him, so
that's right.
Could have even been a rib or something like that. But it was he just seemed to come down awkwardly on top of the striker, and then immediately you're seeing he's not right, because he was carrying it. But then it went on for a few minutes, and he almost seemed to forget about it. I think he just started playing through the pain barrier.
Well, actually, in fairness, Mutu came off before Perez. For Perez, before even half time, which I didn't see him hurt. I obviously had some kind of pull or something, because he was working his arse off, in fairness to him. There was a few times where this is happening a lot, even with Perez or Mutu, but we're getting the ball in really good areas and we're breaking forward. Mutu did it a few times, but then just seems to freeze, almost just get a nosebleed, and then we'll lose it. And I think there was one time he did that. He then chased back, won the ball back, give it away again, then chased and won it back again. And I was like, do you know what it is, right? I know you're losing the ball there, but I cannot question your effort. His effort's unreal, isn't it?
He's like the Duracell bunny, isn't he?
He
never stops. And
never stops.
And I think that was, as the game developed, that was one of the things for me, is that the amount of effort that the players put in was unbelievable. And it was almost that passion, commitment, effort
really
that had been missing.
I agree.
And I think that was, for me, that was on and off the pitch at the weekend, because what did you think about the
I thought it was one of the best, probably the best atmosphere of the season, without any doubt, for me.
And it just seemed to come from nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. A few things for me. So obviously Mutu came off, Perez came on. I personally didn't hear any boos, which was said. Lascelles then not coming on at half time, when I was seeing Shaw come on, worried me massively.
Well,
however,
I think when the subs board went up, like you said, just before half time, I think everybody expected it to be Lascelles, and it was like, why are we making the substitution now when we're like a minute or two to half time? It was weird, and then
it wasn't all of a sudden it was 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds.
And then you seen Mutu kind of just then hobble off, and it was like, well, what the hell's happened there?
It was a shame, because we, especially me and you, we've really went on about wanting to see them two up front, and they've had 45 minutes together, and then he's.
And they looked good for that time.
I thought Rondon, we all know, is not fully fit, but you can tell he's really good at holding the ball up, and the few of his choices as the game went on, I just think that because he was tired. Tiredness was kicking in, and we'll get to why that obviously was. But when Shaw came on, within minutes of that second half, you knew, oh my God,
up for it, wasn't it?
Unbelievable him, that performance he did there was unreal. I thought personally, he won every single ball that come his way. Every time they tried to play it into success, he just got in front of him. But he seems so far ahead of Lascelles, and I'm not saying play him instead of Lascelles, but so far ahead of him is on the ball.
Yeah.
He's like Colaccini. Colaccini used to just come out with a bit of air of confidence and just be able to start moves off. He did one. I think it was the first thing he did was on my side. So it would have been our right in the first half. He dummied a pass with his left foot as if he was going to go back to Yedlin, but then came the other side and then crossed it. Yeah. And my dad went, "Who on earth is that?" And I went, "It's that show." I was like, "That's unreal." And then as the game went on, the way he brought the ball out and just commanded the back four, honestly, was unbelievable.
It automatically makes them sit a little bit deeper because you know that because they were kind of almost allowing what to have a lot of the ball because they were trying to get one on the break.
And also, like I've said this a few times about Lascelles. It's like the Williamson effect when he has the ball. Players don't bother pressing him anymore because they know
where it's going to go.
Him on the ball is pretty. He only ever goes to Yedlin, and then Yedlin just goes back to him. And it's the same thing. Shaw was actually physically coming out with the ball, drawn someone towards him, and he just passed it.
Well, that was it was one of the things that we've massively missed is that forward thinking and the forward passing and stuff like that. And I think again when obviously Shelvey got injured a little bit later on as well, and for me that was. Were you when you seen him coming off? Were you think, oh God, we've lost another one, or were you just happy he was coming off? Or no, well, I wouldn't say I was happy he was coming
shit
off,
though, right?
He wasn't.
He was dreadful, I thought, and I'm a massive Shelvey fan. Yeah. He was looking for Hollywood balls all day.
He was slow and I'm I say it with him is he always plays too deep for me. He's almost playing on the toes of the central defenders, which automatically brings pressure on yourself. And as much as you want him to do it, for me he plays too many sideways balls and stuff like that. He doesn't automatically look to get forward and push on. And
well, I think
unless, as you're saying, it's one of those Hollywood balls.
Well, for me in the first half, I don't know if he was getting frustrated or whatever, but as you say, he kept coming deep. When he had an option to go short, he still just kept looking for this long ball, and he only had really one up front in fairness. There's no point in doing that. And I think, I was talking to someone the day actually, and he made a great point, was in the Championship, Shelvey got this quarterback title, if that makes sense, because obviously people were man-marking him so much in the Championship. He did come very deep. If you go back when we first, I remember that West Ham game, I know I'm going back a long time, but the first game he played, he was forward thinking, wasn't he? I know he played a Hollywood ball to Yamat, but thinking of the game itself, he was always looking for like cute balls going forward. On the floor though, not necessarily Hollywood's. I feel that Championship season, he's almost felt as if, that's my role now. I have to come to the back four to get the ball and try and spray balls.
Even if he does that, I'd still then want him to be then looking to push.
Well, that's what he's not doing.
It's for me. That's the bit that's missing.
He's almost watching his own pass, admiring it, and going, "That's my job done." But when Key come on, within minutes of him coming on, you could just tell.
Every time he picked up that ball, the first intention in his mind was get his head up and get forward.
Yeah, what's going on in front of us?
He passed the ball sideways maybe a handful of times. Every other time was either him pushing on or playing a forward pass, looking to get onto the attack. And I think him coming on really changed everything with the game. The other substitutions and stuff like Perez, he came on, he really didn't do much.
He did nothing. He didn't. Of course he scored the goal, so we'll get there. We will get there. And they probably think we're just bashing him again, but he didn't do anything, did he?
There's nobody that can sit there and say, he
done out. He done out for me.
I don't know. Did he change the game? No. Did he improve up front? No. Did he score the winning goal? Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he did. And I'm really happy, and I'm so glad he did, and that's amazing. Like, I'm certainly not taking anything away from him, but in terms of the performances, well, for example, you just mentioned 3 substitutions. He was the least impactful.
Yeah.
If you look but he scored the winning goal.
He scored the winning goal.
But when Key first came on, I think it was almost his first touch. He got the ball played to him and he passed it straight to Yedlin. It was only like a 10-yard ball, but it instantly was a forward-thinking, quick pass that got one on the move.
It set the tone, didn't it, for the game and stuff like that.
And you think of the goal itself, Key was the one that got the ball, drove on, won the free kick, then the free kick was immense. I mean, and also for him to, because Richie ran over and was, you could see Richie almost had the ball. He's like, I've been on all day, man, it's mine. And Key went, no, this is mine. And the ball he put in was unreal. It was unreal, honestly.
To be fair, anybody could have got anything on that.
Even a defender, anything. Exactly.
It was just the way that it was delivered, and we've missed that. That definitely. Driving a ball into the box with pace, and the games where we have had a lot of possession and tried to create chances, we haven't got any real clear-cut ones, is because we've being too tippy-tappy, trying to walk things into the box and stuff like that. If you put a ball in like that, whether it comes off, a striker gets a little bit of head on it, gets a touch off the boot, or it hits a defender, it's going to cause the problems for the defence and the goalkeeper.
Oh, absolutely.
It can come off anybody. Obviously, like when we played Brighton the other week, it was coming off everybody and flying out and stuff like that. That bit of luck that you need.
I said this at the time. I still believe if we had a hard run on that game, we might have won that game. I think because we would have had a more physical presence after putting 47 crosses in the box or whatever. But we're key as well with him. It's always a sign of a good player, and I'm not saying that he's going to play every week and play like this, but he always seems to have time on the ball, doesn't he? Every time he got the ball on Saturday, he just seems to have time. Yeah. Like,
I think that probably the way that they kind of set themselves up and the tactics that they had, Watford kind of almost played in. And it's something like that I'd said the week before around when you play certain teams, the way that they line up against you and play sometimes benefits you as a team in your style of play. I didn't think that they'd be as counter-attacking as they were. I thought they'd put more pressure on us and have more build-up play.
Did you feel like the second half though? I didn't feel.
Second half we absolutely
we did, didn't
we?
But
let's face it, they still had a couple of chances.
Yes. Now, what I meant to mention in the first half, and I'll quickly say this and then move on. I thought Yedlin was getting done on that side of the field all the time. However, there was one moment where we lost the ball and then we're in one-on-one, and Yedlin just put the burners on and got back. Moving forward, the second half, Kennedy did it. Was unbelievable.
And I mean, that was in the last couple of minutes of the game, wasn't it?
Funny you say it. He broke actually, and he got the ball and he skinned someone. Would have been where you were sitting, skinned him. And he only had one to beat, but he decided to cross it to Rondon and it got cleared for a corner. Yeah. And he pulled his shorts up really high and he was like feeling his hamstring. And I said to my dad, he's got a hammy. Yeah. And it looked like he was walking towards the sideline, but actually he was coming to the back post. And I went, oh God, he doesn't look very good there. And immediately from that corner, then broke, and then he ran the full length. And that block was a certain goal. It was a certain goal. As good as you say that.
I don't know where that came from.
But as you were saying before, that the whole commitment, everything was different, wasn't it?
That is what massively has been missing. It's been missing.
Yeah, I totally
agree. That effort, passion, the fighting. And I think a lot in the week, in the build-up to the game, there was a lot of talk, particularly from Richie, around wanting to put the situation right, wanting to get that first win, and I think he really saw that on Saturday. And
it does help. It does help when you're 1-0 up. So you're 1-0 up going into the last 10 minutes. I think every player in there, you could tell by the way they were tackling, were like, shit, like
they were
going to do it here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought Diarmi, especially when Key came on, was a different player when he came on the field. I don't know how that was, but
so that was when we were just talking there about Shelby. I think that benefited Diarmi because it allows him just to break things up, just do the simple things, intercept balls, give it and stuff like that. That's when it worked really, really well with Shelby and him, was when he was saying when Shelby was that more offensive looking and trying to get forward, because he knew Diarmi was there to cover him and stuff like that. But we're not seeing that from Shelby, which means Diarmi can't just do that. That dirty work in there that brings out the best in him.
When Shelby's on it recently, Diarmi kind of feels like he has to also be the creator, which he's clearly not. But when Key was on, he just stuck to being the break-up play and the monster that he can be.
It was back to that Diarmi that we saw in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was brilliant in the second half. But again, and I just think I felt that Shaw won so many like 50-50s and also like and I've said this about Richie and a few other players. When you have a player doing that, other players, do you know what I mean? They sort of get inspired by that and just continue. Like everyone did.
The way he carried himself and stuff, like he just seemed massive. It's just like everybody was just.
He
felt a couple of inches taller because they were just really raised themselves up.
For the first time, probably, in years, centre half were pretty good. Like, I mean, if you think Lejeune's got to come back, you've got to sell. Fernandez is undroppable.
Would you ever think you'd be saying that as a
No, because for how long have we just had Williamson, Colaccini and Taylor? We had them for like 15 years. That's what I felt like. We never ever strengthened in that area. But now with having them, I mean, it almost it'll not happen, and I know I keep saying this every week. When everyone's fit, you kind of feel as if you've got to go 3 at the back, because how can you possibly not play Lejeune?
You're going to have to play 6 at the back if you've got 4 of them in. It's centre back, aren't you?
It's mental, isn't it? Like, I don't know. You can't drop Fernandes.
No.
You can't.
I mean...
you're not going to drop Lascelles simply because he's captain. That's true.
I think, look, when you look at it on paper and with performances and stuff like that, then you probably would say that Lascelles is your 4th choice.
Based on a cameo role, you know, if you base on that, Shark plays every week for me. Like, but it's a small sample size, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it's. But I don't want to take anything away from him, because I honestly feel he was unbelievable on Saturday. You know,
it was just the even the attitude of him and stuff like that when Yedlin got fouled on the.
Not stamped, but yeah.
And obviously the Watford players were all surrounding him, trying to get up.
He was in Yedlin's face on the floor, like shouting at him, and then obviously Shark
just came over and
that was class.
He looked like he was going to lamp him.
That was class.
So,
right at the end as well, you know, right at the end of the game, obviously we were hanging on, but obviously because the put, it seemed like they had 4 up front at one stage.
Well, it did. They made a lot of changes,
didn't they? And they were just putting up everyone who come on, just get up there, basically. Kennedy
was desperate to get something from the game.
Absolutely. Kennedy absolutely went through someone right next to the sideline. The ball then broke. Then Shaw come in and just ended someone. Then the referee took it back for the first incident, which is fair enough. But again, though, it's that passion of, as the game went on, I think every player was like, "We're gonna do it. This is it." If you can have that every week, that real commitment, because we're not good enough as a team out to beat teams playing wise. We need to show that type of commitment every week to be in with the chance.
That's what got us to where we were last season, was that togetherness and the effort and the fight in the team. And
well, the Leicester away clip gets shown every week, doesn't it? You know, 19 tackles in a row. It felt like, you know, that's just what we are.
Like, we've sat here and we've said that is what is missing this season. That level of effort and commitment, just we haven't seen it. There's been too many times where you've just seen them go really introvert, and the performance have dropped, their body language is dropping. You know, I'd said that about Ken Shelby when he'd been getting interviewed and stuff like that. It just they just looked a bit depressed and beaten at times.
But it was after Man United, wasn't it?
I know, but that's there's been a lot of occasions, where even before games, where it's been a little bit like muted in what they're saying. It was for me, this was the first time this week where they've came out in all of the quotes and interviews and stuff like that and said, we really want this, we need to put it right, we need to win a game. And whether or not that then had an impact on the crowd and stuff like that, but I just think for the first time this season, it clicked on the pitch, it clicked off the pitch, and everybody was in it together.
I do agree. I think as well,
we got it, the first win.
I think it's funny to say, like, but we won the game from squad players, you would call them, coming on and actually making a difference, which very rarely happens. I feel we'll bring a player on and that really happens. No. Squad players made a difference, and funny enough, them substitutions would have never happened. Well, it's if they weren't for injuries.
We've had a question sent in about that actually, and it was obviously with the three changes were all enforced because of injury, and questioned around would Rafa have made those changes? And you've got to look at it and probably say you wouldn't.
No. There's no way you would have brought them two off.
Would you have wanted him? Would you have wanted him to with? If those players were injured?
That's a fair comment. I mean, I've said a lot on here about Key. Like I've just asked where he is, because I honestly think Key's a good player. I think he's all right, but I don't know if he's been injured or not. But he hasn't been on the bench, has he? However, I read something I think it was on NUFC's website with a quote from him saying that he literally said, I don't think the boss doesn't like us. Just whatever I've been doing hasn't been good enough in training. So that tells you the scope of Rafa in terms of, if you're not doing what he believes you should be doing, then you're just not even going to be part of anything. And he said at the end, I hope now that I've done this, the gaffer can see I've got something to offer. And I mean, I probably agree that. I mean, I think he's a very good player. He's intelligent. He's got experience in this league. He's 28, and he's been around.
Brought him in, wasn't it? Because he's played, for a good few seasons in the Premier League. He's got that experience. He knows what it's like. He plays in a tough position in the middle of the park. There isn't any places to hide there.
No.
So
and there's going to be games, many more, where you'll play and he'll be disappointing because it's just what he is. You know what I mean? He's not going to be like that every single week. Do you know what I mean? Of course he can't be, but I still think seeing him play like that gives me massive confidence going forward that at least we've got another option in centre midfield.
Well, we talked about when Rafa turns and looks at his bench and thinks, have I got that quality to bring on and improve the team as things go on? And I think until Saturday we would have said no. That there isn't that quality there.
I was a bit like, no, you know, he's bought these players, he should be playing them. Murphy, for example, which obviously wasn't on the bench at all at the weekend.
Again,
not saying that I was right or anything, but he's not even on the bench, is he? But going back to the original point, at least now, as you said, that squad players are there. We've proven putting them in the deep end as well. Yeah. You're holding them in the deep end there. We haven't won a game. You know, they're coming on for injuries of big players as well. Shaw must have realised that. This is my first time probably like playing.
I think
in Nottingham Forest was when he played, wasn't it? It was a cup game.
Has he not had a couple of? Did he not start the season? I can't remember.
I don't think he did, you know. So you're talking, well, let's say one of his first ever appearances at St James's, you're coming on for a captain who's come on in, you know, that's big. That's a big, there's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And he came on and just, as you said though, seemed to have this air of confidence of like, don't worry, I'm here, man. You know what I mean? It was weird, wasn't it? It was.
And it did. It instilled confidence in the team. It instilled confidence off the pitch, and
amazing. And
just that's what we've been crying out for. It just. We know that there's something there. We just needed a bit of luck, a bit of a break, something just to click. And
we've got a bit
Saturday,
of luck. We've got a bit of luck. I mean, they hit the bar, and they had a chance right at the end. I think it was, and he skied it.
Yeah.
But
no, he should have scored that.
He should. Of course, he should have. But if you go back to when
they probably had 5 or 6.
Yeah. Well, they'll be going home thinking we should have gotten something from that game.
But the weird thing is you look and think they didn't really trouble where or test where. It was just
They just had the odd chance, didn't they? Like, which was
normally that goes against it.
Well, it does,
and that goes in. We end up losing that game, 2-3-1.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And I've said this a lot of times. You know that I've seen us win games, right? And people go, "God, how amazing was he? And how well did he play?" Then I've seen us play almost exactly the same, but lose 1-0. And he was crap, him, and he was crap. And that's the scenario. People come out of that game because we won, saying Shaw was mint, Key was mint. If that goal had went in right at the death, no one probably would have mentioned their performances, which is wrong at the end of the day. It is what it is, but anyway, it's amazing to get the win. It was unbelievable. Rafa on the pitch at the end was class. Like it was just for me. It felt more than just 3 points. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It
was just a huge relief, wasn't it?
It was huge. It was absolutely huge.
You just felt. I know it's a nothing game, but you felt elated at the end of it. The fact that you'd got a win.
And out the bottom three at that time, you know what I mean? You've lifted out of there, and it gives everyone confidence. You could see how much it meant at the end. I mean, Shaw was hugging. Like, they all hugged each other at the end, and I was like, fucking class. Like that's how much it means. You know what I mean?
Kennedy was down in the centre circle.
Giving it this one. I was like, it was mint, and it did feel.
You honestly thought would qualify for the FA Cup final or something like that.
My dad said the same.
Well, Dunn's got 3 points against Watford, but it just seemed like it would never come.
Well, it might be a question on this one. Like, this is not about the game really, but the news about Lascelles during the week, obviously getting the new contract here. What were your thoughts on the comments? Because I have maybe a different opinion.
It came out all out of the blue almost. There'd been no whispers or anything around it.
That's
or anything
us,
like that. And it was
that is us. We're like that.
Where's that came from? And it was like, I guess it is good news, but then the cynical side of you then starts thinking about, well, why is this coming out now? Is it so we can cash in on him and stuff like that? And
well, there was a few links of him that I think was Chelsea maybe or someone.
That was in the summer, wasn't it? And stuff like that.
And there was a few more just recently. I was reading going, they've got their eye on him, and then within 5 days this happened. The comments in regards to Ashley being a nice guy, I personally felt got blown way out of proportion. Like what I was reading was, in my opinion, was he was saying that on that evening, like literally just having that pizza or whatever they had, he seemed a nice guy. Like, he's not saying that he's a great owner. Like
that's how the media work, isn't it? You take one line, one bit of, and you splash that all over as your headline, and it conjures up a totally different story. But when you see when you see the quote in the context that he's talking about it and stuff like that, because that's exactly what you're saying. Is he was talking about the fact that he'd met him that night, he'd taken them all out, and he was a nice guy because that's what that he even said interaction that he'd had with him. He
said other players even. The way he was almost saying players were surprised at how actually canny he seemed. But then Rafa had to come out twice and kind of say, listen, man, he doesn't mean the last 11 years of ownership. Well, he just means that one time he's met him. Like, fucking calm down.
I mean, even people were
keep your toys in the pram.
Him, will he get booed at the weekend and that kind of thing, and what's the reaction going to be like to him? And I was like, I'm
glad none of that happened. Like,
it would have been absolutely... Well, to be fair, there would have probably been the idiots that were booing Perez onto the pitch.
One of you.
I mean, I'm not. As much as I would have liked to have.
Did he boo at him? Did he boo?
He knows I didn't.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think
I used to feel sorry for Obertan, back in the day when he used to get booed
on. Exactly.
Because, and the comments he has kind of got mental. I didn't think he was that bad, right? I didn't mind him that much. I felt that he had that one. I was so happy for him. He got that run of games for about 6 or 7. He scored against Leicester. He had a great spell, and he actually got applauded when Hammy went, and everyone applauded him.
That was after that happened of him getting booed in the bad spell and stuff like that. So whether or not that,
I always thought
that spurred him on. To be fair, if we look at that, as I say, look at the Perez and look at that Obertan and compare the two. I'd want to see that reaction from what Obertan did, of not taking the huff and thinking, well, they boo me on. He basically went, fuck yous, I'll show you that I'm good.
There was definitely
he went and played out of his skin.
Did you not feel that fans felt that every time he got the ball he could just knock it down the line and run past everyone? I always felt every time he got the ball they thought, right, go and just take everyone on.
Yeah.
That's
because he had the pace.
He was fast as out. He was fast as out.
But it's not that easy.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not easy. But some people think it is. You know what I mean?
You look at obviously Perez and him coming on in. For me, he just didn't even look interested, even though he came on the.
Yeah, I honestly don't think he did anything.
He didn't.
And I mean that. Is honestly,
and it was very evident to me that from the start we were defending from the front with Rondon and Muto.
Yeah.
If they were closing down the centre backs and stuff like that, Perez was doing it to some extent as the game kind of went on, but he wasn't chasing around after that ball, putting them under pressure and stuff like that.
He kept falling over again. Well, he kept going for 50-50s and just bouncing off them, lying on the floor, and I felt
he frustrates the hell out of me.
Well, I definitely felt that Rondon. It may because he got tired of it as well, of course.
As the game went on, he was absolutely.
It was funny actually
knackered,
when we made our third sub. I looked straight at him to see his reaction, and he kind of looked up at the heavens if to go I'm going to have to put 90 in here, because obviously there's no way he was going to play 90 if things had went the way that they should have went. You know what I mean? But I think probably covered everything. Do you think? But we are buzzing though.
Oh, it's mint to win. Absolutely amazing.
Unreal. Just amazing. Literally on Sunday, man, I was smiling all day, man. And it's funny though, 2 weeks ago we were sitting talking, and even Chris was saying, I can't be arsed anymore, I'm not bored anymore. And I was saying,
everybody was just down, wasn't it?
I so down, and then one
it gives you a massive lift, doesn't it, a win?
It does. And if we feel like that, the players will feel like that, do you know what I mean? And we've got a really tough game, I think, on Saturday, but we'll get to that. But still, I mean, getting that win just... It gets it off your back.
Gives you confidence, doesn't it? We've got the points on the board. We've got that first win. The pressure's off.
It is a bit.
We can move on now.
Aye, I agree.
But let's enjoy it while it's there.
I need to get another pint, actually. Yes, definitely. Aye. Well, thank you very much for watching. We'll have maybe some more videos coming. But thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.